This is Critical Nonsense, our high-lowbrow show about culture, science, and tech. This week, I asked Joey about telling what looks good in terms of food. Woo!
But today I drove through the suburbs. Because this is what a Joey sounds like, driving through the suburbs. Because I got my driver's license last week. And
that's so recent.
And this is what an executive producer and teen heartthrob Jess Vander sounds like.
Hi, this is Jess. Doubtful.
I didn't actually get my driver's license last
good.
week.
Yeah.
I just
cool.
had Olivia Rodrigo in my head.
When is too late to get one's driver's license? Where it's like, just give up. Live in a public transit
like
city.
80.
That's when it's too late.
Yeah. If you've never done it and
it seems
you're
late.
at the age where
I'm kind of
reaction times are such that it doesn't seem like the time to start learning to drive.
I feel like even 30 is late. Like if you haven't done it at that point, I don't know. Sounds like you're probably going to be a nervous driver. You're not going to like it.
It is interesting. Like I went to Emerson's dance recital this weekend, and without being shady to a bunch of children, there you can see there are children who like understand they have bodies and how to use them.
Yeah.
And there are children who don't, right? Just based on, and I think a lot of that is, modern living and ability to like free play and experiment and go outside and understand how your body works in space and climbing trees and doing whatever. And I feel like the same is true for certain behaviors, right? Like if you've never played a sport before and you're 35 and decide I'm going to try to play a sport, it's going to be a larger uphill battle. And I think the same is probably true to a degree for driving. It's not like a insurmountable hill, but it's
something.
Yeah.
Look, I feel like it's more that driving is insane and best to learn when you are not quite as confronted with your mortality as you are when you're starting to feel your back.
Well, it's also like
whatever.
neuroplastic, right?
Yeah.
Like you're much more neuroplastic at 16 than you are 35. So
yeah, and it's like, I don't know. Can you teach an old dog how to drive a car?
I'd pay to see that movie. Air Bud was a banger, and now it's just geriatric Air Bud learning how to drive a car. Let's do it. Just in the vein of this particular nonsense that we just found ourselves falling down, you brought a curious question to the table that I'm not sure what to expect exactly. But
well, it started with a conversation I was having with my sister the other day about, unsurprisingly, food and how to decide if food is good and if it's something that you'd be willing to try or would want to try. And the more I thought about it, I was like, when I'm looking on, Google reviews of a restaurant that I've never been to or something like that, and I'll look at the photos and I will judge if this place seems like it's going to have good food by the way the food looks. And got me thinking like, why do I feel like I know what that's going to taste like by looking at it? Mm-hmm. And I don't mean, and I think this is confusing, I don't mean, glossy photographs and things that look like they're designed to be eye-catching for the camera or, to be on TikTok or something like that. I more mean like actually what the food looks like, and it could be a grainy photo or it could be a nice photo. It doesn't so much matter about the quality. It's just, what are you inferring about the food? And I think there's like a lot tied to knowing enough about cooking and using your senses. And I just think that this maybe is more of a me topic than you topic, but let's give it a go. Joey, how do you know if something's going to be good to eat by looking at it?
I mean, my first reaction as you were going through that question is because of your relationship with cooking, you like that sort of dramatically increases your ability to assess based on looking, because you have a stronger understanding of the cause and effect of like, when I did this thing happened. When I did this thing happened. And so there's sort of a deeper level of knowledge. For me, I have cooked in my life. I would never describe myself as a foodie or a home chef or a cook or like any of those words, anything related.
Any of those words, none of them.
I'm pretty good at grilling. You know, that is
wow.
Like,
that's so stereotypical of you.
I think it's more based on the fact that I've like worked in grills, like on the grill, as opposed to being like, as a dude, I just understand the temperature of meat. Grills. Yeah. There's something inherent when a man hits a certain age to know exactly the temperature of a steak on a grill. No, it's nothing like that. It's just reps over a grill, like working at like a steak and cheese sub shop. But
I'm sorry that I'm sorry that those words are outrageous to me as a person from outside of Philadelphia. I think what you meant to say was a cheesesteak, but steak and cheese. I mean,
what I didn't actually say was we would call it a grinder. Not even a sub. I was
geographic.
I was targeted. Speaking down. No, it would be a steak and cheese grinder is what they would call it.
That's just crazy town.
But
anyway,
but I do think, right, you've had so many experiences eating food that you start to like paint a picture. Like I saw a picture of the McDonald's is bringing back the fried apple pie right now, and looking at the crust, you can see the sort of stippling of the dough where it's blistering. And I'm like, okay, I know that is going to, like, what texture that is going to have from
like
eating a fried empanada or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I feel like one of the main things that I apply this logic for is coffee. If I'm trying to find a coffee shop as a self-aware coffee snob in some place I've not been to before, I'll look at the photos of the coffee. Easier to tell with a latte because then you're telling sort of some kind of barista technique.
How strong is the bloom?
Oh gosh. Well, and look, I'm definitely no expert, but I can tell the difference because I've tasted a bunch of different coffees. I think some people who every day drink a bodega coffee and are happy blissfully with their bodega coffee, that's great. And if you're like me and have the curse of knowledge where you've had that and then you've also had other kinds of coffee and you're like, oh no, I'm ruined for all these other coffees, then you start to realize like, and I'm starting to connect the dots. Like when you get a foamed milk beverage that if you take off your lid and you observe that it's like huge bubbles all up the sides, that's like an inch or two thick of this like big frothy stuff. I'm like, that's not actually a latte or a cappuccino. Something went horribly wrong here. And
that is a hot milk coffee.
And I can say this as somebody who worked as a barista and made so many horrible coffees for people unknowingly, because at that time I was not a coffee drinker. I didn't know anything. I was like, yeah, you just put the milk in the frother and then it gets hot and then it's done. And my goodness, like I'll say it right now. I'm so sorry for all the coffees that I ruined at that time. And I hope that it wasn't.
I'm glad you finally came out about this because the world has been waiting for your apology.
Look, we all have to admit.
Every time you open the failures. Notes app, we're just waiting for the apology to be released.
When are you going to admit that you did this wrong? Yeah. But now that I know this, and then if you're looking at a photo of a new coffee shop and you see like, ooh, not just did they do the art, but like, do you see those microscopic bubbles where you can almost imagine the velvety texture of tasting the way that milk has been foamed, frothed, what have you? It's like steamed. You're like, okay, these guys know what they're doing. At least they know how to handle the milk. And maybe that's a good proxy for how they will handle other parts of the bean process. This is the whole, you've heard like the brown M&M's writer, idea of some I don't know if it's legend or what, but the idea that when celebrities go to some kind of venue and they can put on their rider, which is like their wish list of things that they expect to be prepared for them by the time they arrive, that there's this legend of somebody famous asking for a bowl of brown M&Ms because it would require that somebody go and like hand pick out the other colors, or at least be savvy enough to acquire only brown M&Ms, which are, you know, for many people would agree it's probably the worst one. And as a way to tell, like, oh, is this a venue that's going to take other safety precautions seriously and whatever? At least that's the lore. I don't know if that's true, but that idea, I think, is one aspect of looking at a food or a beverage and saying, okay, if you take this thing seriously, that's probably a good sign for other things. Yeah,
that you're taking other things seriously. It is interesting to think about like this idea through the burden of knowledge, right?
Yeah.
In terms of now you're aware of the errors you made in the past as it relates to coffee, or the more you learn about coffee, you're able to sort of triangulate on how you personally like coffee prepared, which, you know, you could have someone who loves coffee equally and has a similar amount of knowledge, but has a different preference for whether it's like the type of beans or, you know, less time in the steamer for the milk or whatever it is. It's just a personal preference. And I was thinking as you were talking, like, where is the line drawn between something like having a preference or being picky and snobbery, you know, and maybe that's not like a difficult line to draw, but I feel like it maybe gets blurred sometimes when we have conversations about these things. Like I'm a picky eater. I have like texture preferences. I have some foods that I can't eat because of allergies. I have, you know, like weirdness, but none of it goes in. I'm not like, oh, these things are there. There may be things I could be food snobby about that I'm not thinking about. So I'm not saying I'm without that, but broadly it is more just like I have preferences, and because I have them, I become more aware and more able to like look at food and identify. Like I was in an airport recently, in a lounge, and the food looked awful. Like it just looked disgusting, and maybe it wasn't, but it didn't look good. And I just saw someone just like shoveling a mountain of like slop thrown on slop of different types on one plate, and I was like, how are you eating that?
Or like how are you willing to consume that?
And they were just like shoveling it wasn't like they were being like gluttonous about it or anything. It was just like, one, you like mixed all of these foods together that are all saucy foods. And then,
you know how you feel about that with our bowl meal conversation.
And then it was just like full spoon, not being like, I'll take a bite of this one flavor.
Put
and
it
then
all together.
It's just like,
stir it up.
Like back the dump truck to my mouth and like pour it in. I was like, oh, like, but it was making me think of like, I would like that, actually, that experience to
be
they seemed
enjoyable.
like they were enjoying
They were
it
having a great
fine.
time. Yeah,
like
they
didn't
that.
seem like they were like upset. They were hungry. They ate some food. It was easy. I'm like, that seems so compelling to me as someone who's like will just forego eating if there's not something that I want to eat.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, I think you've brought up a fair point about how do you separate questions of preference and taste, and is that something that I might like versus is that going to be the best shot at being broadly appealing to anyone? Like, is it good? Because fair, like that, and maybe this, in this case, in this lounge, is a little bit of both. I bet if there was a vat of overcooked pasta that looked a little bit wiltier than it should,
there was some of that mixed in this.
Yeah, I'm sure that was mixed in. You know, some, and you're probably also relying on other senses too, like you're smelling whatever chili soup mixture thing was probably stirred up in there, and you're like, man, that's just that's an unseasoned vat of beans or something.
Yeah.
But I think to the, you know, to the other piece of what makes things good, I guess another hypothesis, I mean, I guess it's not even that, it's validated and a real thing, of if good things went in, likely it will be more good out. And that's where I think the cooking knowledge and other kinds of experience with food help. Like when you go to a farmer's market and you might hear in some of those videos where they're like, just like go, when chefs are like, just go and like be inspired. And you're like, I don't know what that means. But when you actually do that enough and get enough experience, you're like, oh, when they say that, they mean like some leaves look wilty and some leaves look fresher and more vibrantly colored and, hydrated and whatever. And then you're like, oh, I bet if I cook with that, it's probably going to taste better than the brown wilty thing over there. Like that just sort of makes sense. But then when then when you're eating a salad and the different parts of the lettuces don't look that great, even dressed up in a dressing, it's like, yeah, that's probably going to be a middling, if not kind of bad salad.
Yeah. But I think the some of what you're getting at is just the ability, right, is like intuitive knowledge. You eat a couple times a day, every day, new data point. I saw a post, I don't know, recently-ish, let's say in like the past year, of someone posting like a full picture of a full English breakfast. And they were like, look at this. This is incredible. But they put something like, tell me what's missing, like nothing, sort of being like, this isn't, and someone quote replied it to the question of tell me what's missing, and said the Maillard reaction, which is
browning.
Like, yeah, it's like browning, like everything looked like steamed and like including the eggs, and like the toast wasn't cooked, and like the like fried tomatoes weren't fried. But I looked at it and I was like, oh yeah, it kind of it's clearly cooked, but it looks raw. And I was like, that looks awful. Independent of opinions on a full English breakfast or not, I'm just like, yeah, nothing here looks good.
Well, and actually, and it's funny you bring that up too, because right, like some things want to be golden brown. That's when you know it's done. Like if you've got a plate full of beans and bangers and whatever, like, yeah, I could see where you're looking for color there. Meanwhile, if you had, a chawanmushi or something in Japanese cuisine, like that's designed to be steamed. And then if you know what that's supposed to be and how that's supposed to look, then you're assessing on different things. It would be very strange if that were browned, but you don't want like giant air bubbles or whatever, because then it was like, oh, it was steamed too hot. Like now I'm looking for different traits. And so, yeah, yet again, the more information you know about what it is supposed to be, or at least what doing it well likely would involve, then you can be better at analyzing, okay, I don't know if this is prepared very well, or I don't know if they were so choiceful with the things that probably should have gone into this.
I mean, at this point in your life, to this question, like how often are you not necessarily surprised by the flavor of something, right? Because I think what this doesn't land on, outside of maybe certain ingredients having a specific color so that you might know they're present, right? Like, saffron or something like that, right? Like you can tell saffron is present in a rice or in a dish because of how yellow it is. Yeah. But outside of that, like how often are you surprised when you try something new in like a positive, unexpected way?
Maybe frequently, but probably because I seek that out. Maybe it's not a real rule of thumb, but if you're at a nice restaurant and there's something strange on a menu, maybe you should order that, because why would it be there if it weren't good? I don't know if that rule goes for a less nice restaurant. Honestly, maybe it's on there because somebody, it's a pet project of somebody's, but it's a decent idea. Or like the first item at the deli, like that's probably the most popular sandwich, or hogue.
Yeah.
But I feel like what is really interesting to me, and I think is a thing that, at least in the discourse of the New York City food elite, is the idea that like striving for some kind of epitomized ideal or authenticity is less the point of a thing. I mean, it can be a point, but another option could be, oh, what if this is just the way that my mom cooked this recipe and now we're perfecting it and we're sharing it on the New York Times cooking app or something like that. Like that could be equally valid. Just this week, Bowen Yang and Matt Rogers of Las Culturistas fame and other things as a duo were cooking Bowen Yang's mom's mapo tofu recipe on the show, and he was like, "Look, this isn't traditional. Like my mom was from northern China, and this is a traditionally Sichuanese dish, but like that's all right. It's also good, and it's different, and it has different traits. And I have not yet made it, but I think that was really enticing to the idea of like, oh, well, that would be something new."
Yeah.
What if you take a spin on it and try something different? The idea that, Portuguese egg tarts came overseas by way of soldiers and made their way into Hong Kong with the now famous Hong Kong one. So now there's like the bifurcation of the pastel de nata and the Chinese egg tart. Like that just came about because someone was like, let's try this in a different way. So exciting to figure out what things could be good if intentionally treated in some kind of different way.
Yeah, I have a good example of that this week actually, because I hadn't had lasagna in a long time, and I hadn't thought about it, but it was like my favorite dish that my mom made growing up, and I just kind of forgotten that.
Yeah, it's weird to order lasagna out. It feels like a thing to eat at home.
Yeah, but growing up, my mom made it with cottage cheese instead of ricotta because you couldn't, like, ricotta wasn't like readily available in New Hampshire. And so I like brought it up to Becky before, and I was like, oh yeah, we had we had lasagna with cottage cheese, and she was like, ew, what are you talking about? And I was like,
that could be good.
And I was like, I don't know, I don't really like the texture of ricotta. It's not like grainy, but there is that like,
I hear you,
that thing, and I just don't love it.
Yeah. And
so last week I was like, could we have lasagna and make it with cottage cheese? Like, I haven't had it in a long time. I loved it. I forgot about it. And she was like, I guess. Like, it's weird, but sure. And then we had it, and I was like, oh yeah, this still hits. Like, this is incredible. And she was like, oh, this is like a lot better than I was expecting it to be. I had real low hopes for this. And it was interesting, and it was just like same. It was just availability. Like there was no like Italian grocer in Manchester, New Hampshire, at least that we were aware of.
Right, which is also how, I mean, creative foods come about because of necessity. Sometimes it's like, well, I don't have that, but this will do. I'm like, that's the whole premise behind a lot of
the umami bomb.
Oh, well, yeah, there's that too, right? Or the Samin Nosrat salt, fat, acid, heat thing of like the basic fundamentals. You can swap out a lemon for white vinegar, and now we're in a different cuisine. Like now we're talking, Thai or Vietnamese food instead of European cuisine or Middle Eastern
vice versa.
Cuisine.
Yeah.
Lemons would be more Euro, Middle East, and white vinegar would be more Thai, Vietnamese. Sure. Think about like a papaya slaw. Lime, definitely also. Lime would be more like Thai cuisine.
Yeah.
Lemon, lemon, you're thinking like fish en papillote or something like that. Now you're taking me to a different place.
Yeah, the umami bomb I think fits in that, right? Like, are you using a tomato for an umami bomb? Are you using soy? Are you using some other ingredient that is like deeply
savory in some way?
Yeah, and finding it, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess from this conversation of how can you tell by looking at it, it feels like it really does all boil down to preference, even as someone like a professional chef. Like, I feel like preference is such a huge part of it. They can tell you like, probably, are you accomplishing what you intended from looking at a picture? Like, I can tell you are trying to do this thing, and
fair.
you didn't
Fair.
succeed. But
Yes.
there is also the component of like, I just don't like how those things taste. I don't want those things. Like,
Yeah. That's true.
like if you were doing whatever, like a fried bun and it came out and the bottom wasn't like brown, then they would be like, you did this poorly. Like you did not cook them all the way.
Yeah.
Or
I think that I buy the idea of like, is this what you intended? Like another thing, if I'm looking at like American Thai takeout and I am looking at the way they've prepared their pad see ew and I'm looking, or, pad keema, the drunken noodle or whatever. And I'm like, God, these vegetables were just hacked to high hell. Like, this was not intentional.
these were not julienne.
These were not like, there was no technique. This is going to be like, I'm going to have to break out a knife to cut down this carrot because it's massive. They cut the carrot in half and threw it in there. Like that's to me, like if what you intended was, what I think it was, which was like, you're trying to compete with the half dozen other Thai takeout places on that block in Brooklyn, New York, then you probably need to step up your veg chop game.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting thinking about too ingredient sourcing when doing those things, because I get mango sago from a Mexican restaurant that I like order burritos from sometimes, but like sago is like a Asian dish, right? Like a tapioca pudding type of thing. It has like tapioca pearls in it, whatever. I'm like, why is this here? But it's sort of like, oh, both of our cultures like mangoes. Like shake hands.
Looks each other in the eye and goes, that will be good.
Yeah, we'll do that. But they're using
really good.
different mangoes as like right, like a champagne mango versus whatever the other mangoes are.
Yeah.
And I got one recently. I was like, oh, this is so sour. Like you use different mango. Like occasionally in the same one, I will see they've used two different types of mangoes, and I'm like, I like these ones, not these ones.
Not these ones. Just scrape those ones out of here. Yeah. Well, and ingredient sourcing, technique. I feel like technique on like when you look at a pastry in a glass case at a bakery or a coffee shop, and you're like, that looks so dry. It's probably dry. Like that is that's a sign. Or like a pasta, and you're like, that sauce looks so wet. Like, why is it so wet? Like, what if it were emulsified and like it should look glossy, but instead it looks watery? And then you taste it, and you're like, yep, that's what I thought. Like, that does to me seem a lot like a failure of intention and execution.
This is why I like going to like for a celebrate like an anniversary or something, going to like a Michelin star restaurant, because often it is prefixed, so I don't get to choose. Like it's taken out of my hands, but because in theory they know what they're doing enough that they can prepare a thing that an untrained chef would, like people are like, I don't eat, chicken hearts because they're tough. And it's like, well, because you prepared them in such a way.
Allow me to challenge that notion and expectation. I will prove that you can eat this.
Yeah. And figuring out a way to cook and prepare it. And so like, I'll often eat things that I would be like, I've tried that before and I do not like it. And then I'll eat it and I'll be like, I'm here. I'm paying for this whether I eat it or not, so I better eat it. And then you eat a thing and you're like, okay, like you figured out a way. Like we just went for our 10-year wedding anniversary to a restaurant.
Oh, congrats.
63 Clinton. And there was like some things on there that I was like, I definitively would never order this off of a menu, but I was like, oh, this is sick.
That's what I'm saying. Order the weird thing. Order the thing that you would maybe not otherwise choose. That's a great place to be sort of awakened to something being better than you'd given it credit, because actually maybe someone just done you dirty before.
Yeah. We went a few years ago. Similarly, we went to a restaurant called Kono, which is like a love letter to the chicken, and that's where like the chicken heart thing came. And they're like, we use all parts of the chicken and prepare it, and it's like a izakaya or whatever. That's like the Japanese grill, I think.
Sounds great.
And I ate all of the things almost, but I was like, nah, dog, I'm not doing chicken feet. Like,
Not for, I mean,
I'm aware, like, I'm not like nibbling out like the chunks of cartilage. Like, I'm good. Becky got some. I was like, nah.
I mean, yeah.
There is still a line.
Chemically, there's only so many things you can do. The whole point of that, yeah, like if you don't like that gelatinous thing, like that's kind of what it is. Yeah. Or I snuck off with my gal friend at my bachelorette weekend a little bit ago to also go have a fancy dancy dinner. And at the beginning, they were like, "Any food allergies?" And we're like, "No, any are insects and bugs okay?" And where I was like, "Hell yeah, let's go." I've not been asked this in many places before, but I'm down. And sure enough, I think the cricket dish may have been my favorite.
Yeah.
So there you go. Who knows? If someone knows their way around a bug, a mango, or a chicken, you might find yourself surprised.
Also, as a side note, if you have a shrimp or lobster allergy, you might not be able to eat crickets, apparently. We heard that at a restaurant.
Tell me more.
Becky has a shrimp and lobster allergy, and at one place they're like, don't get the cricket dish. We've heard people can have similar reactions. And we're like, she was like, cool, I wasn't going to get it anyways, but like, great to note.
Or grasshopper. Different.
Maybe, I don't, they had referenced crickets, but they could have... I've dug into this zero.
Yeah, me either.
Well, Jess, do you want to bring us to our wrap-up mise en place?
Yeah, I feel like, well, I enjoyed this. The idea that you can tell what looks good by how it looks comes ultimately down to, do you know sort of what somebody's going for? And if you do, does it look like they achieved what they were going for? And that could be a lot of different things depending on what, where you are, what cuisine you're talking about, what, what even you like personally. But, some things might just be okay to say no thanks. If it doesn't look good to you, it might not look good to other people. And if it does look good to you, then give it a whirl.
And always pursue the Maillard reaction.
Except not.
Always.
No, but sometimes not, though.
But then again, always.
No.
Critical Nonsense is a Sylvain production.
Brought to you by Steaming in the Microwave. Steaming in the microwave. Surprisingly, sometimes okay, but definitely not always. Don't put a crab in there.
We'd like to thank our executive producer and Betty Crocker, Jess Vander.
Thanks. We'd also like to thank sound engineer and sweet mango, Alex Cantel.
We'd like to thank our programming manager and Sarah Lee, Les Jacobs.
And thanks to our production crew and delicious grasshoppers, Sarah Gilbert, Nora Mestrich, Christy Jensen, Amanda Medina, and Amy Waters.
And as always, thanks, Ellen.
Thanks.
Special thanks. I don't even think they exist anymore. Pepperidge Farm apple turnovers.
Oh.
I know apple dumplings.
Oh.
I don't think they exist anymore. I ate so many of them.
What makes an apple dumpling?
It is diced apples and it's basically apple pie filling. Looks inside of like a dough ball that then you just toss in the oven. It comes out lava. You try to eat it too quickly,
Always
you
comes
burn
out
your
lava.
mouth.
God.
And
why do they play us like that?
It's doughy in the center and crispy on the outside.
It does appear to be in production. At least
they brought it back.
Still around.
Apples.
Who's
That's
to
sad.
know? Well, you never know what else they could dumpling.
Pump those calories directly into my veins.
Gross. Thanks to umami. Thanks to wide rice noodles.
Thanks to small grain rice.
Yeah, long grain too, but small grain's really nice. And you know what? Thanks to
not even medium, buy medium, just small.
Yeah, thanks to actually good fruits and vegetables. Thanks to the Berkeley Bowl in Berkeley, California, that really knows the meaning of great vegetables and produce in general. Wow, I'm just full of gratitude.
Thanks food, but specifically the food I like and the foods that I don't. Bye. Okay.
Over it.
All right. Love you. Mean it. Bye.
Bye.